Hello everyone. So this video, a quick little intro before I get started. This video was originally supposed to go up last month, but I had a bunch of those issues with the audio recording. So I am re-recording it here, and I put up a that's why I just did the little mac and cheese video last month. But when I first recorded this, I had this whole little themed cute outfit on. I will put some footage of it up here. I managed to do a little snow photo shoot. So I just really wanted to get this done. It's been about a month since I looked at this PowerPoint. So it's a bit of a first time reaction for me as well. That's out of the way. The actual purpose of this video was one of my favorite shows of all time is CW's DC's Legends of Tomorrow, which is a wacky, fun, tongue-in-cheek time travel show. Whole lot of fun. It's a really good brain off show. So since it is a time travel show, there are episodes. Each episode takes place in a different time. It's a different mission. They have to go, whatever the MacGuffin of the season is, they have to go find the component in whatever time and place it's been hidden. And I love this show. The costumes are bad. I'm sorry. They are bad. So this is my little love letter to the show. I redesigned 2 of the episodes, and I chose these 2 episodes specifically because they are episodes where someone's choice of disguise is like the butt of a joke. I'll go into it more later. But yeah, okay. So the first episode is season 2, episode 12, which takes place in England in 507 AD. And this episode takes place where not NSA, a superhero was sent back to England to keep safe part of the sphere of time, and her way of keeping it safe was to artificially make King Arthur's court, putting herself as the wizard Merlin. The show puts this in 500 AD, and a little bit of context about England during this time, sort of for my costumes in particular. But this was before England converted to Christianity. England was controlled by the Anglo-Saxons, who are from Denmark? Denmark? The court of King Arthur was established by a time traveler pretending to be Merlin. And then the I'll get into the more character stuff later. So this is Nate. His character is a historian who kind of goes through a bit of character development, but later revealed to be he's like a bro, rich parents. But in this episode, he's like, King Arthur is not real, and all the others like, oh, just go along with it. But he's like, no. So he, actually dresses like an actual peasant while everyone else is wearing, fancy fantasy noble clothes. But in his peasant wear, considering he specifically goes out of his way to be talking about historical accuracy, and he's wearing a leather coif and a shirt with metal aglets, which sounds very specific but is so bad. It's so bad. But so at this time, the Anglo-Saxon men were mostly wearing tunics and trousers. You see the ankle wraps, and you had the plaid capes. Because he is going as more of a peasant character, he would have little to no jewelry, little to no embroidery, decoration, applique, and then all of his clothes would either be undyed or have a very simple, cheap, like green, blue dye. Oh, and then also, I believe, because I did all my research like 2 months ago. I did a lot of reading. I believe also it was uncommon for manual like farm workers to have shoes, or like we haven't found any shoes. Like there's something about shoes that was like, that's weird that they never wore shoes in England. Because I don't live in England, but I live in a very wet and cold area, and you gotta bring like an extra pair of socks, like boots, socks, extra socks, just in case. Yeah. Okay, so this is Nate. He's basically Ant-Man, but DC did it first. He, built this super suit. He can fly around and shoot lasers, but he also shrinks really small. And he is just like a very classic sweetheart nerd. He was obsessed with King Arthur as a kid, so the whole episode is talking about how, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be a knight in King Arthur's court. So and he does build himself a saber of light, is what they call it. And they're like, oh my goodness, it's a saber of light, and then he duels the villain of the season. Now, if you look up like Anglo-Saxon soldier, you're going to be getting all of these like male shirts. We have not found any evidence of those actually existing. What we have found is in bogs from about like 700, which is after, but 700 is when you actually start finding artifacts. So I just kind of, this can't be that different. It's close enough. 500, there isn't really that much evidence of there, stuff that there isn't that much stuff left over. But 700, there's like a good handful of excavation sites. So you'd have the helmets, but I could not find anywhere that they were actually the big male shirts. What we have found is these tunics that would wrap across the front. And then again, you've got the trousers with the calf wraps. And then he is supposed to be a nobleman, which is why his tunics would have quite a bit more decoration. Now, by now you've probably noticed that I did not do renderings or little character, like little sketches for this, and this is because in the show, at least as far as I can tell, everything is rentals. So I think it would just make more sense to go like, this is, go based on vibes. Oh yeah, and I do think it would be kind of cool for him to have slightly darker colors, because as more of tribute to like the episode 6 Revenge of the Sith ? I can never remember. I was a huge Star Wars kid, but I could never tell the titles of the movies apart. They all sound the same. I'm sorry, but Luke episode 6, when he's got the all black outfit, I just think because they have this Star Wars moment that that would be a fun little detail. Even though most of these pictures are very like warm tone browns and oranges, maybe like a darker, like the dark green one, something more like that. Also, finding specifically like images of men, 90% of them were in like battle recreations. Like finding like civilian clothes was pictures of like civilian clothes was very difficult. Granted, I am probably a hypocrite for that because I do have my next weapons test in 2 days. Um, so I will say fighting with swords and spears and stuff is very fun, but please don't just play pretend other stuff and then upload those images. For me specifically. Okay, so this is Sarah. She is. Oh my gosh, where is she at this point? At this point in the show, she's she's the only character that lasts through the whole 7 seasons. So she is kind of like the main character. It is like an ensemble show, but she's the only one that lasts through the whole entire run of the show. So she does kind of go through the most stuff. But at this okay, so before the show started, she was brought back to life because she was a member of the League of Assassins, and she was brought back to life in the pit of Lazarus. So she was dealing with some issues of like losing control and going into like berserker mode. But by season 2, she's got that all figured out, and she is at the beginning of the season, she is just like having a good time bisexualing her way through time and space. However, her main arc through this season is learning how to become the new team leader after the other one went missing. I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but let's be honest. They literally bring back a character with the power of song in this show. So the stakes are both very high and also nothing matters. But yeah, I really like, completely coincidentally, all 3 of these have this really beautiful blue color. But what I was actually looking for was during this time, for women, you kind of had 2 styles of dresses. This one, which is the main one, and then also this one, which is more of the like wrap front coat style, which is a lot newer. I will be going into that more later. But this is the more like Roman, very rectangular shoulder clips style dress. I think Sarah would have a lot of, and they're supposed to be like nobles. I really like the very like metallic, sleek jewelry in general. She has kind of a very plain, sleek style. I really like this necklace or these pins where it's like knife shaped because she is an assassin. Oh yeah, the end of the episode is her name is Sarah Lance, and so the end of the episode is her kissing Guinevere and then Guinevere going, "I like you, Sarah Lance, a lot." Yeah, a lot of we don't really have that much clothes evidence, but we have found a lot of very well made jewelry. Like they had their metal work down. Oh yeah, and then also I really like in the middle picture that style of headscarf where it's like kind of tight on the top and got that big bow in the back. Because again, her style is very sleek, kind of athletic. She wears a lot of like tank tops and skinny jeans, and like jackets. Yeah, a lot of like earth tones. Very plain, kind of boring, in my opinion. Okay, so this is Amaya. Amaya is actually oh my gosh. She has a very complicated backstory. But basically she She grew up in Zambezi, Africa, which I don't think we ever really find out where in Africa that is. But she grew up in Africa, and then she was recruited to work to be a secret agent for the U.S. during World War II, because she has a magic ancestral necklace that lets her channel the power of animals. So I gave her this style of dress because I'm thinking, because she is from the 20th century, she would want a bit more of a conventional silhouette. And then for the headwear, I couldn't. These ones are all have like very simple veils, but I think that giving her more of, again, I don't think Zambezi is a real place, but those African, giving her whatever their inspiration for Zambezi was, giving her that region's, more of a headwear, but in the, English, woolen colors, woolen fabrics. I really like the orangey, yellowy colors for her. And then I gave her jewelry with a lot of beads because that was common in the 40s. Just like very colorful, beady jewelry. So this is Jax. He is part of Firestorm. Now, Firestorm goes back to the Star Labs explosion. He was not affected by the explosion. However, he ended up replacing someone, and so he was given powers to be able to fuse with this other guy, and then when they fuse, he can fly and shoot fire and stuff. So again, he is supposed to be, in the mission, he's supposed to be pretending to be like a nobleman. And I talked a lot about jewelry before, but men, there isn't quite as much evidence of men wearing a lot of jewelry. However, during this time, very elaborate tablet weaving and embroidery was still, a good way to show wealth. So I'm thinking he would, have the tunic, but maybe you would have a layer or two, or it would have the very elaborate edges of, you have the keyhole collar, and you've got the edge along there, but then you've also got an edge along the hem and along the cuffs, and that would have either be tablet woven or have embroidery. And again, for him, I'm seeing, I picked a lot of red and orange images, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think more of a blue-green would suit him more. The next episode I chose was Season 5, Episode 5, which takes place in France in 1793. Specifically, it takes place in Versailles. Episode 5, which takes place in France in 1793 specifically. And so in this season, someone is sending the souls of the most evil people in history back into their bodies. So the villain of this episode is Marie Antoinette, which I personally disagree with. I don't think she was an evil person. I think she was just had a very difficult life where she did not have a lot of autonomy, and she was just in a bad place at a bad time. I think she was a bit of a martyr myself. I am on her side. I don't think she had, I am anti-rich people, but I don't think she is the person to blame for this state that France was in. So yeah, in this episode, Marie Antoinette has risen from the dead and has turned the Bastille into a party house, and her doing this ended the French Revolution. So the team has to go back and fix that. Zari 2 has just joined the team. This is kind of her character arc episode. Because usually the way these episodes work, there's an A plot and the B plot, and one of them is advancing the main story of the season, and the other one is doing a character development for one of the characters. And this one is Zari learning to value herself, because she is an influencer from, I believe, like 2040. And because of this, she has very different tactics from the rest of the team. They want to blend in and she wants to stand out. This is where the costume conflict comes in, because they're going to go to Bastille in 1793, right after the French Revolution. And so she is dressed to the nines in her finery, and everyone else is wearing like peasant clothes. Also did Marie Antoinette, and that is because this is another double casting. And in this episode, the actress playing Marie Antoinette is the same actress that plays Nora, who is a main character, and Ray's girlfriend. Brought back, they get a super, like a magic weapon, and hers is a mind-controlling perfume. So this is the costume for Ava. Ava is, by season 5, Sarah has settled down, and her and Ava are dating. And Ava used to work at the Time Bureau, which is the government, like, anti-time crime agency, but they got shut down. And so now she is working at the Legends, and she's kind of figuring out her place as, as a leadership role. But she's used to doing everything by the book and according to these very strict set of rules, and Legends just kind of do whatever. Their motto is screwing up history for the better, and that is not her deal. So again, she's wearing like peasant clothes, and because she wants to blend in with the revolutionaries, which at this time would have been a petticoat with a jacket and then a little frilly bonnet. And then also, a fichu, because you gotta cover up them girls, because it's cold out. I have one very cozy top, where it's like this very thick, like ribbed knit fabric, and it's like long sleeve, but it's got this really low square neckline, and my chest gets cold. And then she'd have like an apron, and it would probably be like earthy tones, like maybe oranges and greens and browns. Yeah, again, cheap dyes you can find in nature very easily. I also added binders and the flower necklaces, because her motto for missions is aloha. It's an acronym. I have forgotten what the acronym is, and she loves binders because all women characters are either rebels or they love binders. Yeah. Okay, so this is the boys. I have combined all of them because there really isn't that much of a difference. And again, finding images of men's historical clothing is difficult. However, I did assign them specifically a top and a bottom. So I gave Nate the long pants. After the French Revolution, short pants were a sign of the aristocracy, so revolutionaries would wear long pants. So he's got the long pants. His are more of a warmer brown color, and then for the top he's got jacket, vest, and a little frilly little neck scarf, because it's I don't know, it looks very like artiste to me, and he kind of gives that vibe. So Behrad, I gave him this colorful striped pants because he's a fun, chill guy, and he seems like the one he's the most adventurous clothes wise. Honestly, most of the main characters, pretty much except for Charlie, all dress kind of boring. But yeah, so Behrad has the more colorful striped pants, and then I gave him the double-breasted coat. Again, it's just has a bit more flair. He's probably the most adventurous male dresser, so I just gave him the most fun. So Ray is canonically really rich, which is why I gave him short pants, because he is a member of the aristocracy. He's like a tech billionaire bro. He is Elon Musk, but not a terrible person. And then for the top, I gave him kind of the most plain one. For a while, I was thinking about, but it's still not fancy. It's just kind of basic jacket, vest, done. Okay, yeah. And then I put in. I'm trying to find. Really wanted to find a picture of someone using a guillotine to cut a cake, and I just could not find one. So again, someone please make that and then put a picture of it online so I can find it. But again, I was just trying to, fill the empty spaces, but also set the vibe. Okay, so this is Sorry 2. I gave her kind of like, I really like this kind of salmony pink color. I put in the magic weapon of the episode is, this mind controlling perfume. However, Zari has just come out with her latest, merch product, which is Dragon-esque perfume, which smells so bad it like clogs your nose and burns your scent glands, or like smell detectors, so you can't smell anymore. So she's immune to Marie Antoinette's powers. And then also this episode, she gains the self-confidence to dump her boyfriend DJ S'mores, who was cheating on her, and that's why there's a burned up marshmallow. But yeah, for her, I gave her this. Again, she's a fashionista. She's very fashion forward, so she has this really, kind of pre-Regency silhouette of this, almost underbust dress, like very high-waisted dress, but still kind of the fuller skirt, more trainy skirt, big tall hair, lots of ruffles and decoration, but still elegant. And I'm thinking for her, it would be a round dress. It wouldn't have the skirt and then the petticoat. Yeah. Because I wanted to contrast her style from Marie Antoinette's style, because, she is looking to the future, and Marie Antoinette is clinging to the past. So, Marie Antoinette, I included several portraits, like her final couple portraits, and then also some dresses. Now, I kept finding that striped pattern was very popular, and in her final portraits, she was really liked wearing those open front dresses with a white petticoat underneath, and like that very pointy, structured, just like 1780s silhouette, even after it kind of started to go out of style. But yeah, I really like this kind of stripy fabric in this kind of like brown, purple, blue, kind of more darker, regal colors. And then I really like that, big, puffy fichu scarf. And specifically, I love this purple striped dress. I wanted to make it for a while, but finding that fabric it just does not exist. So I kind of had to give up on it. And then, she has more of that wide hair. Yeah. And that's all I really did. Sorry if this one was kind of rambly. I don't really remember. I was kind of bouncing around, so I didn't really make notes, because I was like, I'll put this together and then record the next day and I'll remember everything, and it's been like 2 months, so I don't really remember. So I'm just kind of remembering as I go along. But this was a lot of fun for me, and this was, by the way, this is how I was trained to make costume pitches in my costume design classes. So if you don't like this, you can take it up with my professor. But yeah, let me know if there are any other episodes you'd want me to do, any other shows you'd want me to do. I highly recommend this show. It has 7 seasons. It's on Netflix. It might also be on HBO Max, because CW is owned by Warner Brothers now. Um, but yeah, this is my comfort show. This is what I watch when I'm not feeling good. Um, so even if I was being kind of mean to it today, I do really like it.